Alright, so we're going live. I wasn't even really going to do this, so bear with me. You know, I don't really do this live too much. Right now I'm driving. Traveling, not driving. So, I'll make this short. I just wanted to update a few of my friends and followers about what's been going on here lately. And what I've been experiencing. So as far as the traveling and not driving, just a little background. For the past 6 years, I have been traveling without plates, as I've been deregistering my vehicle and using it as private property, automobile, personal conveyance, basically consumer goods, household goods, as affirmed in Supreme Court as household goods, private property. So it's not the according to the Supreme Court and according to the laws and definitions that are already in place, it's not the description of the automobile that makes it a motor vehicle. It's actually the use. Okay, so for example, you can go buy a tractor trailer from the auction, and you can use it every day to travel back and forth to HEB or anywhere you want. If you're not getting paid as an employee, then according to Title 18 U.S.C. 31 definitions, Section 6 and 10, you're not using it for commercial purposes only, okay? And that's been upheld by the Supreme Court. I don't have those cases right here in front of me, but I can, it's pretty easy to look up. Anyway, so for the past 6 years, I took off my sticker, and I took off my CDL Class B expired in I think 2016, and I no longer was using that because I was no longer employed as a driver. Okay, 49 CFR 390.5 definition of a driver is one who's commercial, operating a commercial vehicle. That's backed up by Supreme Court cases as well. I don't have that in front of me. Thanks. So basically, I've gotten pulled over a few times, and for example, I was pulled over out in Grimes County, Texas, and basically, sheriff, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. It was 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. It was pitch black, and the sheriff deputy said I was speeding. Well, he didn't even have his lights on. He was right by the side of the road. I almost hit him because I didn't see him, so I swerved a little bit to move out of the way. It was on the freeway. Anyway, whenever he pulled me over, and this is back in 2013, I believe, I said, hey, I'm going to turn off my truck. I said, I don't have my license. I don't have any of that information you're wanting, but I'm going to turn off my truck, and I want you to go look up Texas Transportation Code 201.904, which says that these speed signs are commercial vehicles anyway, and then look up the definition of a motor vehicle in Title 18 U.S.C. 31, and then I'll wait on you to come back. So he came back and he said, are you trying to tell me that these signs don't apply to you? And I said, absolutely. He said, okay, well, slow it down, have a good day. I mean, it was real quick and easy. It was fine, He was kind of shocked maybe, I don't know, or maybe he was actually just an oath keeper, and he was abiding in his oath to the Constitution, where if the laws are repugnant to the Constitution and he's not trying to violate anybody's rights, then, he was well within his discretion to do the right thing. So, basically, had a few other run-ins since then, 2013 time frame, where sometimes you run into somebody and they do the right thing, but technically whenever they're pulling you over, that's an illegal trespass and false arrest. It's an illegal detention. So traffic stop is an arrest whenever they're pulling you over. It's a false arrest when they pull you over without probable cause. So if you don't have a plate, for example, then there's no prima facie evidence that you are operating a motor vehicle, operating being a commercial term, motor vehicle being a commercial term, all governed by the UCC, Texas Transportation Code, or whatever city, state you're in. So, Fast forward a little bit, 2000. I was in a white Toyota Corolla. I had taken my sticker off. I had no plate. A constable out of precinct 4 pulled me over, and he said, "Hey, you don't have any plates. You don't have any, anything, right?" So I said yes. Went through the whole thing. Let him know what was going on. He gave me a citation at that time. I was still new, and I left it alone. So eventually it became a little warrant or whatever. And around 2016 time frame, I went into the court to take care of this. The prosecutor wanted to give me time served since I had been arrested and I had time in the books. They just wanted their conviction, right? So it was expired inspection sticker and no license plate. At that time, I had a printed out Title 18, Chapter 31 definitions. I showed it to him, and I said, "No, I want to take this to trial, and I want you to prove that I was operating a motor vehicle." And so he looked at me at that time, and he told me to go sit down. And then from that time frame, the tickets were then dismissed, and that was a citation from Precinct 4 Constable's Office, Harris County Court System, and the prosecutor that worked for the corporation known as Harris County and one of its affiliates. Again, this is all commercial. You can look at their DUNS numbers. These entities are DBAs. They're doing business as they're for-profit organizations that are actually masquerading as nonprofit government. But yet, if you go ahead and do a request form to the IRS to ask for their nonprofit status, you'll find out they're actually for-profit corporations, and they're committing a lot of fraud and tax evasion and everything else. So again, DUNS numbers, publicly traded, credit rating, D&B, all that kind of stuff. So EINs, they got it all. Anyway, so that was 2016. Got 2 tickets dismissed. Fast forward a little bit further, and I'm making this long. I may not have a steady signal, but anyway, I'll try to make this as brief as possible. Just trying to give you a little rundown. I was stopped another time in Montgomery County. No plates. They pulled me over. They pretty much, kidnapped me, assaulted me, stole my property, being that they towed my truck, which I did have displayed on the back of it. Notice that it was private property. Private property, traveling, not driving. A few of the U.S. code citations there, so they could have a good notice. So they read that, and they still deny me due process and everything else. Okay, arrested that time, spent 18 hours in jail. Told them I did not consent to being booked in. So they put me in a crazy tank for about 18 hours, basically against the Geneva Convention. Human rights violations, human trafficking, torture, basically that they sleep deprivation with the light on every 15 minutes, the guard coming by with a stick hitting the door. They were doing their counts every 15 minutes in unsanitary conditions. In a cell with no toilet, basically, or the toilet's right there in the floor. It was like a 6x6 cell. Drain on the floor, wearing no clothes except for my green bulletproof vest or something that they gave me. Anyway, so after 18 hours, they gave me a PR, personal reconnaissance, let me go. At first, my bond was $5,000. Then they dropped to $500, and I told them that I didn't consent to being booked in. They took my fingerprints without my authorization, and I never saw a magistrate. Never saw a magistrate, but they let me out. Anyway, fast forward, that became a warrant. That ticket, failure to appear. I took those papers 72 hours later, sent it privately to the administrator, also known as a judge, but there have been any judges in the U.S. since 1789, I think it is, and that's affirmed by the Supreme Court. There are no judges, there are administrators. These magistrates and judges are actually administrators. They're corporate fiction. You have to do some study if you don't know about that anyway. So I sent that to him. I said, hey, you've got a mistake here. You're mischaracterizing my automobile as a motor vehicle. I'd like for you to just go ahead and handle this matter. I gave him a fee schedule for violating my rights, and he ended up filing all that private letter that I sent to him, wanting to remain in equity and in private, and he put that onto the case. So he made public record that I had a fee schedule in place with Montgomery County. So I fought that case for 2 years, and they wanted to take it to trial. They ended up, my bond went from 50,000, of 5,000 to 10,000, 20,000, 25,000, and then whenever I didn't show up to the trial because I saw that they were not budging, the DA and the judge together, the judge practicing law from the bench, which is, and basically in conspiracy with the DA, because he was speaking for the DA. The DA has the burden of proof, and I would bring forth an argument and give proper notice, and then the DA would not respond, so he was in dishonor. And then after that, the judge would respond for the DA. So I was challenging the jurisdiction of the court through personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, and bringing forth valid, lawful, legal, however you want to term those. But anyway, I was bringing forth the arguments backed by code, statute, and everything else. Of course, they ignored it, as they are allowed to. So, I did not show up to the trial, so they put out an arrest warrant for me, the $50,000 arrest warrant, and from what the bounty hunter told me, the judge gave my file to a U.S. Marshal. This is for driving without a license charge. Come on, y'all. U.S. Marshal then gave my file to the bounty hunter. The bounty hunter said that he was a special bounty hunter. He only does high-profile cases and usually international, which is kind of interesting since we're on foreign soil here in Texas and anywhere outside of the 10 by 10 square miles of D.C. So anyway, they came, rushed me one day, kicked my door in, assaulted me, took me into Harris County, okay? And when I went to Harris County, I went before a magistrate. The task force police that the bounty hunter turned me over to, it was not regular street cops, it was a task force. They took me before a magistrate. Instead of just dropping me off at the jail, which kind of strange, I thought, they actually took me, two of them, walked me straight into magistrate right then. Kind of thought that was interesting. I never had that happen. I had my paperwork with me, and so I showed the magistrate my DBA. I showed him my birth certificate, injunction, and a few other items. And I told him that I'm not the person, I'm the holder in due course of the person, that I'm a man, I'm a flesh and blood living man, and King James Bible is my is my law. Now, I did get ahead of myself because it was really 6 months prior, whenever I went before a judge down. In fact, I'll just go ahead and put his name out there, Judge Jordan. I can't remember what court it was. And, this is all public record anyway. I went for him for the 2 misdemeanors for failure to ID as a fugitive because of that Montgomery County warrant that was $25,000 at the time, I think. And failure to ID as a fugitive and interference with the duties of a police officer because they wanted my fingerprints, and I told them that I did not consent to a search and giving my personal information, my fingerprints, my property. It's a violation of the 4th and 5th Amendment, illegal search and seizure without a... Okay, sorry about that. I had a phone call. So, anyway, they arrested me for those. I went before Judge Jordan, and I took my King James Bible with me, a 1611 version, and I told him that this is my law. I said, if there's any man here today that has a claim against me, then let him stand up. Otherwise, I demand for this case to be dismissed. And I was standing behind the bar at the time. He said, well, step over the bar. I need to speak with you. And I said, well, I don't want to, I don't want you to assume any type of, jurisdiction. I'm not going in contract. At the time, he said, hey, it's okay. You can reserve your rights. Hey, back up. So he said, you can reserve your rights. And I said, okay. Oh. So, after that, I reserved my rights in front of all the witnesses of the court system there. And I told him, I said, look, I don't waive my rights here. Same spot? You want me to back up to that same spot over there?
Yeah, back in the hole.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. All right. So, anyway, I showed him my paperwork. I showed him DBA. I showed him the birth certificate that I've got, and did not hand it to him. It's got my seal on it, but I told him, I said, here's my injunction, and here's my paperwork. Actually, besides the fact that y'all don't have any personam jurisdiction, I said, you don't have any subject matter jurisdiction anyway, because whenever the officer put me over, I didn't have any plates on the back of my automobile, which means that there was no prima facie evidence or probable cause for him to pull me over. And the DA was kind of shook. The judge said, and he started stuttering. And we were going to give him time served and dismiss this one and do time served for this one. And he said, no, there's no probable cause for the arrest. You're free to go, sir. Both charges are being dismissed for no probable cause. And that was failure to ID as a fugitive, misdemeanor, and interference with police duty because they wanted my fingerprints. Okay. So, no probable cause for the stop means that whenever those officers put on those emergency lights to pull me over, they were without probable cause and they were violating my rights. Order dismissed by the judge. Don't know who this guy is, but he knows law, and I think that he did not want to open himself up to liability for violating my rights. I'm not sure. So this has actually gone on a whole lot longer than I thought it was going to, but we're having a good time. So, okay, those were dismissed. That was last December, and the 2 tickets in 2016 were dismissed for no cause. Okay, So where we're at is the Montgomery County was still valid, or not valid, but it was still an ongoing case. Judge and DA not wanting to concede on that one. Anyway, so remember I told you that the task force guys, they took me into the magistrate, and I told them the same thing that I told Judge Jordan. Well, I also told him at that time that I was going to appoint him as fiduciary so that he could go ahead and discharge the accounts and settle everything right then and there. Well, he looked at me. He said, you know, maybe the next judge. But it was a very good conversation. And those task force guys, they were congratulating me after I got done with the judge. I can't remember what his name was. But, you know, what I said to him did not work in the sense that it was dismissed at that time, but I had a very good interaction with that magistrate judge. I believe so, and the two cops, they said they have never seen anything like that, and the way the judge treated me with respect was very honorable. Give me 1 second. I'm dumping a trailer here. So if you hear that noise, that's what that is. Anyway, so the next day or 2 days later, I'm in Harris County Jail. I go before the real judge, and I say the same thing that I said before to the oh, my battery's, come on, I'm trying to dump this trailer and it's running out of juice. Okay. Anyway, she threw me out of the court at that time. It's out of juice. So she threw me out of the court whenever I told her the same thing. That I told Judge Jordan, and she threw me out of the court at that time. Basically did not let me start, and we all know that these corporate fictions cannot deal, you know, the person DBA known as Judge so and so whatever, who's got a EIN and, you know, DBA and a DUNS number and everything else. They cannot deal with a living man. They're not allowed to. Whether or not they know this or not is a different story. Some of them do, some of them don't. I don't know. I don't really know all the details on that. But the point is, man, my trailer is out of juice. Point is, she threw me out of the court, and it was about a day later, they called me back. And whenever they called me back, they said, you know, I was supposed to be on the next docket. 10 o'clock docket. Well, I sat out. I sat out there and waited for the 10 o'clock docket. Okay. Waited for the 1 o'clock docket. After that, the bailiff came by about 2 or 3 o'clock. Bailiff came out there about 2 or 3 o'clock and said, hey, judge wants to see you. All your tickets have been dismissed. So at that time, I didn't know how many I had, but I called my wife. She said, hey, the judge just dismissed 10 charges. So I said, oh, really? And checked on that. It was everything from failure to appear, no license, no insurance, etc., 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 because they did not have personam jurisdiction. Okay, I didn't even file anything on those. Every one that I've gotten dismissed, I never filed any paperwork. Isn't that interesting? Never filed paperwork for the ones that I got dismissed. The ones that I have filed paperwork, For some reason, I couldn't get those dismissed. That's it. That's the last one. Yep. Yep, I'll come back next time. No, it was already bent though. Yeah, I got them to market. So, anyway, at that time, which was sometime 4 months ago or so, two tickets in 2016, 2 misdemeanors in December of last year, and then 10 tickets this year that I've gotten dismissed. That is a total of 14 cases, and then I got the criminal trespass from the Capitol. I got that dismissed with the help of an attorney. That's the one where we sued DPS and ended up taking that to appeals court on the Title 42 1983 claim. So 15 cases in total, at least, that I've gotten dismissed. Those 14 here since 2016. So, no probable cause, no personam jurisdiction, no subject matter jurisdiction. Okay? And that's the basis of it. So, I said all that to give background into what happened this month. Well, I was pulled over in Cleveland, Texas, Liberty County, 6 o'clock in the morning. It was dark. I was in the right-hand lane going about 60, 65. There was construction zone and everything else, so I was trying to be very, safe. And there were cars passing to my right, and I was about to exit anyway. Well, I see in the back a car going pretty fast, no lights on. If I was going 60, 65, he was going 75, 80. And then he, he was in the left-hand lane, but then he got behind me. So it was a Cleveland police officer, but the thing is, he followed me for a while, a couple miles, 2 miles maybe, I don't know, a mile or two. He went from the right lane where I was behind me. He switched over to the left lane. Then whenever he switched back into the right lane, he turned on lights for an emergency, his red and blue lights. And so at that time I was like, well, he's gonna pull me over for some reason. And but I had just passed an exit, and I was on the freeway. There was it was a bridge I was going over, and so that was not a safe area. Just like on DPS website, it says, if it's an unsafe area, then put your hazard lights on and wait until it's a safe area to pull over. So I did that, put on my hazard lights, slowed down, and proceeded to the next exit, which was less than a quarter mile or whatever. And went to the stop sign, made a left across the bridge and into the truck stop. It was a well-lit area, very safe, and felt good. I rolled down my window and waited for the guy to come to the door, but by then there were 2 of them at least. I think there were 3 or 4 that were just pulling up. And the one officer came to my window, or they started yelling, "Hands out the window, hands out the window." So I did that, and they came at me with their pistol in my face, pointing his gun at me. One officer had an AR-15 pointing that gun at me, and I told him, I said, put your guns down. I mean, that's pretty much all I said to him. Put your guns down. What are you pointing weapons at me for? And all this kind of stuff. They opened my door, pulled me out, Basically just, a gross violation there. And after they did that, they cuffed me. He started going through my truck. I told him right then and there, I do not consent to a search. He didn't care. It was a sergeant. He had, 2 stripes down, so he should have been a senior officer, but he was an oath breaker, violating his oath to the Constitution, of course. At that time, I told him, "Hey, Sarge, can we talk? Can we have a conversation? I don't consent to a search. You're going through my truck." And he was going through my paperwork that I had in a folder. And after a few minutes, they put me into the cruiser, and he said, "Well, you're being detained for not having a license plate." And he was taking pictures of my private property notice. So he was given notice, and he ignored that private property notice and continued to trespass. Again, human rights violations, Geneva Convention, and everything else. After he told me I was being detained for no license plate, then he went right into reading from a card my rights. He read me my rights, and as soon as he got done reading me my rights from this little card, he said, "Do you understand and waive these rights?" It was very quick, as if he was reading directly from the card. Does the Miranda warning at the end, does it end like that? Do you understand and waive these rights? Is that how that Miranda goes? I don't know. But I said I waive no rights whenever he asked me if I waived the rights. And so as soon as I told him that I waived no rights, he shut the door. Well, he said, "You're being arrested for evading." That's a felony, by the way. And so because I said I do not waive any rights, he said, "Okay, well, you're being arrested for evading." But I was being detained for no license plate. So he just came up with something, and he said, "Okay, well, doesn't have any probable cause to pull me over anyway. No prima facie evidence or probable cause." And then he says felony evading because I don't want to waive my rights. That's crazy. Anyway, still going live here. For those of you who are tuning in, I'm just basically giving you a brief overview of what's been going on in my life, these fight, And the thing is, look, I told a police officer yesterday that I'm not wanting to fight the state. All I want to do is protect my rights. That's it. There, I'll get back to you in a second, babe. So fast forward from that, I bonded out on that, and I'm basically have to deal with that felony evading. And I've got 2 tickets down in West University, which is a little municipal court inside of Houston, that was not taken care of during the 10 tickets that I got dismissed. So bonded out for those 2 weeks ago, and I've got my bond paperwork. I've got everything here, but the warrant is still active. The bonds haven't been processed by the sheriff's department. They're extremely slow. So I'm pulled over yesterday by a constable, precinct 4 again. Just to recap, precinct 4 constable pulled me over back in 2014. I got both of those dismissed in 2016. No probable cause, as I was not operating a motor vehicle. So constable pulls me over. He says the reason he pulled me over is because I don't have a sticker. I told him, okay, well, he asked me for my license, registration, and insurance. And I told him, I said, I'll be very nice. And I told him, I said, I don't have what you're asking for, but what I do have is this. I showed him, my dismissal from the last one, and I showed him a couple of other papers, my DBA and fee schedule and a few things. The injunction. I showed him the injunction. And at that time, he was already ticked off. He was ticked off whenever he pulled me over. But he went back to the car, said basically, I'm going to be impounded. He started asking, I had a worker with me. He started asking him for his ID. You know, what does my worker need a driver's license for? He's not driving. He's you know, riding. But anyway, went through all that. He called for backup, of course. 2 other cars showed up, one of which was a lieutenant. Really good guy. Talked to him for a while. We had a really good conversation, and we talked about the law and how it's being misapplied and misidentifying motor vehicles, private automobiles, and household goods as you know, private property has been misapplied and mischaracterized as motor vehicle. Talked about a lot of things. Had a very good conversation. It was a long ordeal. I don't know, an hour or 2. And at the end of the day, we came to a pretty nice, you know, resolution, so to speak. I mean, I did get the tickets, but I did not get impounded, did not get arrested, so that was a good thing. Anyway, the real update that I wanted to provide, though, is that, you know, setting precedent within those same jurisdictions of Precinct 4 constables and Harris County having the tickets dismissed already and then being pulled over and ticketed for the same thing. That's very interesting. You know, the officer said, you know, the best thing to do in Wation, we talked about it. He said, get an occupational license, okay, and we need some proof of financial responsibility. He said, now I don't care if you've got your fucking trust, or if you've got a surety bond, or if you have you know, money in the bank and you have a proof financial responsibility that you know, then that's fine. He said you don't have to quote unquote get insurance, and that's what he told me. He said, but at the end of the day, he wants to know that I've got proof of financial responsibility. In his eyes, that's the best thing, you know, regardless of jurisdiction, regardless of personam or subject matter jurisdiction, legal persons or men or private property. He said he didn't care about all that. He doesn't care about the license so much. He doesn't care about the license plate and all that. He just wants to know, do I have insurance or do I have financial responsibility? So, and also in the vehicle and trust. It was very interesting. These guys are not you know, new to the job. You know, got 20 years experience each. So I thought it was a very positive interaction, although they did give me some tickets that I'm going to now have to take care of. But I'm not in jail. And I'm working, trying to provide for my family and pay off all these bonds and fees that I've been, you know, basically, you know, forced into, you know, accepting those contracts just so I can get out of jail. Anyway, I told you I wasn't going to make this long, and here we are. We've been in it for 30 minutes or so. Love y'all, and if you got any comments or anything, just leave them below or shoot me a DM, and we'll talk later. Ray, thanks for tuning in live. Ty, thanks for tuning in live. Anybody else, it should be posted. I just did it friends only, not public. It should be on my story. So check it out later. Leave me some comments, and let's stay connected. Shalom, and peace and blessings. Love to each and every one of you.